coming out in excellence. And it's dealing with the book of Daniel, the one-on-one, coming out in excellence. Let's go to the Word of God, Daniel chapter 6, starting at verse 16 and 17. It says, "Then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. The king declared to Daniel, 'May your God, whom you serve, continually deliver you.'" Verse 17 says, "And a stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the ring of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed." Give you a background on what's happening here. The kings, noblemen, they didn't like Daniel. And the Bible says that Daniel had an excellent spirit. That means he was without accusation. No one could accuse. So I said, no one could accuse Daniel of anything. When he went to work, he was on time. When he took his break, he was not late. He didn't leave late. He did everything perfectly. He didn't steal pens that wasn't belonging to him. He didn't do anything. So he was without accusation. And the people didn't like him. And Daniel was in line to be, I believe, the second in command. And the people didn't like that. But there was something about Daniel that they knew. They said, you know what? We know something about him, that he's always praying. He always has this one-on-one with God. He's always praying. And if we can devise a plan, if we can come up with a law, and the crazy thing about during this time, if they came up with the law and the king signed this law, the law was the law and it cannot be changed. And they said, if we can come up with a law that says you can only pray to a certain God, you can't pray to no other God but the God that we set up. And they took this law to the king and they said, "King, we need you to sign this law that says no one can pray to any other God." And the king and Daniel were like this. They were boys. And Daniel, when he heard this, he went, he read it, probably balled up a piece of paper, threw it in the trash. He went into his room, opened up his window, looking towards Jerusalem, and went outside, and then he prayed in his room. And here's the interesting thing. Those same people were outside Daniel's house. We know what time he comes and prays. Like I said a couple weeks ago, my mother, every day around 5:30 and 6 o'clock, would go upstairs after she fixed dinner and eat. She would go upstairs and she would read her Bible. After she read her Bible, she would pray. And during that time, no one could bother her. Even the neighbors, our walls were so thin in the townhouses that they could literally hear my mom praying. So even during that time, they would not dare come and knock on the doors at our house, because they knew that my mother was having her one-on-one with God. So they were so familiar with Daniel to the point that they were outside his house and they heard him praying. And then they went back to the king and they said, "King, didn't you sign a law that says that nobody can pray to any other God except the one that you set up?" The king's like, "Yeah, I signed it." And he was like, "Well, Daniel disobeyed that law. And you know the law cannot be changed. And according to the law, Daniel has to be thrown in the lion's den." So as we brought here right now, they took Daniel and they threw him in the lion's den. Next slide. I like this right here because it says that when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. He gave thanks to his God. And that correlates with Philippians 4:6 that says, here's this terrible law that they just passed. Oh, that's 2017, whatever they're going to do. But here's this terrible law that they just passed. And when they passed that law, it says you cannot pray to any other God. But Daniel had a one-on-one relationship with God where he prayed 3 times a day. And people knew about it. But look at Philippians 4:6. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but our God." So Daniel wasn't worried about anything. He says, you know what? I'm not going to sit there and worry about it. I'm going to pray about it. And that's the thing. A lot of times we're worrying about what the mayor's doing, what the governor's doing, what the president's doing, what the senator's doing, what the governor's doing. Don't be about it. Pray about it. And after you pray about it, faith about it. Put some action to what you believe. And that's what Daniel did. He prayed about it and he put some feet to it. What is the feet that he put to it? He got on his knees and he prayed. And upon hearing this, he was thrown in the lion's den. And then what is a lion's den? It's a place where they keep the lions in there, and they don't feed the lions like you feed your dog or your cat. They feed them just enough to keep them alive. So that anything or anyone that they throw in that pit, those lions are going to tear them up just viciously. And Daniel was in the lion's den. And think about a lion's den. What is in the lion's den? That lion's den, what are the lions doing? They're roaring. They're sneaking about. They're saying all this. And that lion is trying to get you to fear. That lion is trying to get you to doubt. That lion, I'm saying lion, but lying. The enemy is lying to us. That's saying that you're never going to be successful. The enemy is lying. And those lions can roar very loud. And so they threw Daniel in the pit. And the question is, what is your pit? What is the pit that you are in? What are you surrounded by? What did you take on? What is your pit that where it seems like you cannot get out? What is your pit that they threw you in and it feels like there's no hope? What is your pit where it seems like it's so dark? What is your pit that it seems like no one can hear me when I scream? There was a tragic thing that happened in December where a girl went on Facebook and she committed suicide. She used a Facebook Live person. She committed suicide, hung herself. She said, "I love you," and she hung herself. Then you see like 20 minutes later, her parents, you can hear them in the background searching for her because when she went live, everyone's seeing it. And then they found her. When they found her, it was too late. They couldn't revive her. She was in a pit. But yet nobody recognized the pit that she was in. She was surrounded by lions, lying to her. The lion said no one cared about her. The lion said no one loved her. The lion said this and the lion said that. And she believed the lion. And because she believed the lion, she was devoured by the lion. Don't be deceived. The Bible, Jesus says, the devil is a liar. He's the father of lies, and he's a liar from the beginning. That means everything he does is a lie. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The enemy wants you to die, but Jesus says, I'm the way. The enemy wants you to believe his lying ways, but he says, I'm the truth, and he wants you to die, but Jesus says, I am the life. That's why in our one-on-ones, we have to be sober and vigilant. The Bible tells us in 1 Peter 5 and 8, it says, be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He walks about like a roaring lion. What is he lying about? He's lying that someone doesn't love you. He's lying and says that this. He's lying about that. He's lying. There's so many lions going on. You're surrounded by lions. But Peter says, but be sober. Don't be so out of touch. Be vigilant. Because your adversary walks about roaring like a roaring lion. He's roaring, but the only thing that's coming out of his mouth is lies. He's lying. He's literally lying. And sometimes we get caught up in believing those lions. And sometimes it feels like we are surrounded by lions. Go to the next slide. And you see these people are in a cage somewhere in Africa. And they're in this wildlife preserve. And they're surrounded by lions. And what are they saying? Whatever they're saying, they're lying. That's what I put. Whatever they're saying, they're lying. You see the one lion right here at the bottom that says the past. The lion is talking about your past. Oh, you remember when you used to do that? You ain't too sober. You ain't too clean. You ain't too saved. You remember you used to party all the time, all that drinking, that 40, that OB, all that other stuff. You know, remember you used to do that little drug, little weed, and little coke, this, that, and the other. You never escape that because that's who you are. You're Jacob. You'll never be anything else. You'll just be Jacob because you stole your brother's birthright. And the other lion, he gets on top and he says, fear. He starts roaring, fear. Stay where you are. Be stagnant. You'll never become anything. You'll never be anything. You'll just be like your daddy. You'll just be like your mom. You'll never become anything. And therefore, you know what? That person failed. And then fear starts to set in. The lion. He lying. Then you have lies. Oh, they talked about you. They don't like you. They probably gonna fire you. No, they're lying. Doubt sets in. Doubt says, well, maybe you're not good enough. Doubt says, maybe I can't beat them. Maybe I can't succeed. Maybe they're just better than me. Maybe I'm going to fail. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'm doubting myself. He's lying. But the Bible tells us to pray always. Pray without ceasing. Guess what? And fast. And whatever they're saying, they're lying. Whatever they're saying, they're lying. Don't believe what the enemy is saying. Peter said, be sober and vigilant, because our adversary, the thing that's coming after us, is like a roaring lion, seeking whom it may devour. It wants to devour us. It wants to kill our hope. It wants to kill our faith. It wants to kill our dream. But because if we have a one-on-one with God like Daniel did, guess what? I'm going to read it. I know what it says. I know what it says, but I'm going to take that very thing and I'm going to... Okay, don't pray to any other God. If you do, okay, lion's den. Okay, and it's sealed with the king's signia. So I know the law because I'm part of the establishment. Oh, what am I going to do? I'm surrounded by lions. Man, should I fear? Should I lie? Should I doubt? Should I worry about what happened when they threatened to kill us? No, but sometimes you got to look back. And Daniel looked back to when they said, guess what? Eat of the king's meat that they sacrificed to their pagan gods. But Daniel said, no, I'm going to trust in God. And we're not going to eat of the meat of the king's table. But we're going to fast. We're going to pray. And so he's not going to be anxious for anything, but he's going to pray about it. And he looked at that thing and he's like, you know what? Sorry, baby. He looked at that piece of paper and he threw it away. And he got down on his knees and he prayed. And he prayed. And he was thrown in the very lion's den. What do you do when you get into that lion's den? God, I don't want to get to the lion's den because I know that you're a way maker. You're going to make a way of escape. That's what the word says, God, that you will make a way of escape. The Bible does say that. But sometimes God will allow us to go through the proving grounds because there's something in us that God wants to get out. And he will allow us to go through the lion's den. What was that scripture that Sarai read? Psalms 27? He says, I will be with you. I will lead and guide you. I will advise you, sounding like a father. Yes, you're learning to ride the bike for the first time. Yes, I got my hands on the steering, and the handlebars. Yes, I got my hands on the back, but I need to let you go. But what if I fall? Then you get back up. But it's wobbly. All you got to do is keep pedaling. What did I say to you, Sarai? Keep pedaling. Pedal, 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 pedal. And then there's sometimes where I may take you on the back of the hill like I did Elias when he was young. The hill in the back of the house. I took him up to the back of the top of the hill and I said, you're going to learn to ride a bike. I took him up to the top of the hill and I said, all you got to do is, I said, even don't pedal. Just let gravity do its thing. Just hold on to the handlebars. Well, gravity did its thing. The bike went this way. Elias went that way. I don't even know how he fell off the bike. He's just supposed to hold the bike up, but he fell off the bike and he went butt straight down into the ground. But guess what? I wasn't swayed by that. I said, you fell? Get back up. Get back up. It's all good. Sarai fell. I said, get back up. Elijah and Elisha fell. I said, get back up. Don't believe the lion that says you can't do this. Of course you can't do it for the first time. You got to keep working at it. Let's look at verse 19. And it says, at the first light of dawn, the king got up hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually been able to rescue you from the lions? First of all, the king told Daniel, he's like, I know I signed this law. I didn't think they was going to do that. But may your God rescue you. I know you always telling me about your God. Here's the interesting thing. A lot of times, our lifestyle is a witness more than we can verbally witness. Daniel had a lifestyle. The king knew who Daniel served. But yet he still chooses to serve his pagan gods. But he encouraged Daniel before he went in there. Sometimes God will encourage you before you get into that den. And he encouraged Daniel before he got in the den. And so that same night, the king couldn't sleep. And the very next morning, he gets up and he runs to the lion's den. And he says, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually been able to rescue you from the lions? What they said, what they did. And Daniel answered, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouth of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king. What? My God sent his angel, and they shut the mouth of the lions. What? Sometimes the enemy can speak so loud, God sends his angels to shut their mouths. Shut the lion's mouth. Shut up in Jesus' name. Apply the word of God to that. Next thing, verse 12 says, Then he said to me, well, that's not the next verse. So Daniel was saved out of the lion's den. As time moved on, Daniel was praying before God. And he had such a one-on-one that he would get his answer. But this time, Daniel didn't get his answer. And here we're at now. Daniel had prayed. And for 21 days, he fasted. Didn't eat anything. God, I know you're going to do this. He saw a vision. We need an understanding for this vision. And here we are at verse 12. Then he said to me, fear not. And then hold on. After when he was praying 21 days, the Bible says, an angel appeared before Daniel. Then he said to me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and humble yourself before your God, your words have been heard, and I have come because of your words. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I was left there with the king of Persia, and came to make you understand what is to happen to your people in the latter days, for the visions for days yet to come. So Daniel had a vision. He didn't quite understand what was going on about this vision. And he prayed for direction. He prayed for understanding. And for 21 days, God didn't say anything. But God heard him on the first day, and God sent an angel and said, go tell Daniel what this dream means. And the angel on his way to go tell Daniel. But then the prince of Persia, who was a demon, tried to stop that angel from delivering the message. And that angel and that demon were battling for 21 days. And then finally God sent Michael to go help the angel. And when Michael came, Michael and that angel prevailed over the prince of Persia. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where I prayed about it, and God, you said your word, and it's not coming to pass. What am I saying in my one-on-one? You keep your one-on-one. You keep praying. You keep fasting. You keep before God. And the only thing is, hold on. Hold on. Hold on and trust God. Guess what? Like the sign says, God knows what he's doing. God, I don't know why you ain't answering me. I expected you to do this on this day, God, and it didn't happen. Hold on. I was looking for this guy, but hold on. God, I was expecting that, but hold on. God, I know you said you're going to work things out, but hold on. Hold on. I received a phone call from my brother Wednesday to tell me about his new job. And he was telling me that he goes to Wawa every day. And it just so happened the manager at the Wawa he goes there every day to get his coffee and his lunch or donuts and whatever. And the manager mentioned to him about his mannerism and how he's very respectful when he comes in and how he goes to work. She watches him come to work and stuff like that. And she said, you know, they're building a new Wawa in such and such an area. And she was like, they're looking for a night supervisor. I'm going to recommend that you get the job. She don't know anything about my brother. She doesn't know his background and everything he did, but his mannerism. And so she says, I'm going to recommend that you get a job. Just fill out the application. And so my brother was like, seriously? And she was like, yeah. She filled out the application. She said, I already talked to the manager over there about you, so they're expecting you to fill out the application. So he was like, okay, cool. So he filled out the application. He brought the application back to her. And she told him, she says, well, I thought about it. And I thought about it. She said, well, why am I going to send you over there as a night supervisor when we need a night supervisor here? And she offered him the job, and he started today at 10 o'clock. So he called me very excited to tell me about the job and how God just opened up that door for him. And I was like, that's what's up, man. And he was so excited, I felt like I got the job. And he was like, man, you know what, Stephen? And I was like, what's up? And he was like, man, just hold on. He was like, be encouraged. He says, everything that you're going through, this, that, and the other, in the church, he says, just keep trusting God, and God is going to work things out. God is going to do it, but just hold on. And I was like, hey, man, I received that. Thanks. He was like, I got to go to work. And we hung up. About 9 o'clock that night, I got a text message. Well, I got a phone call from my pastor in Delaware, and he was like, hey, I got a message from headquarters that I needed to tell you about. Whenever he says headquarters, he's talking about heaven. And he's like, I'm just sitting here, and the Lord told me to tell you this. And I was like, okay. And he said, the Lord told me to tell you to hold on. The Lord told me to tell you to trust him. The Lord told me to tell you that he's bringing the light. You're at the end of the tunnel, and he's going to bring everything into pass. And so everything that he literally, my bishops told me at 9 o'clock was a repeat of what my brother said around 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock when I talked to him that same day. So sometimes we get like Daniel, where 21 days I'm waiting for an answer and you don't hear anything. Guess what? Continue that one-on-one and to continue to hold on. And my bishop always says, if you can't hold on, hang on. And if you can't hang on, hold on. So beloved, I thank God for this series that we've done, one-on-one. God wants, you're not too old and not too young to have a relationship with God. You can be 7, 8, 15, 14, 21, 44, 65, 95. You're never too old to have a one-on-one relationship with God. Guess what? When you pray, what does the Bible say? God is the Spirit, and he's looking for those that are worship him in spirit and in truth to connect with him. And it is in those times when we connect with God that God connects with us. It is in those times that God speaks to us. It is in those times that God strengthens us, and where we, even when he doesn't give us an answer, I feel his strength that says, I can go a little while longer. Even when I don't hear his voice, I feel his presence. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemy. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I feel his strength. That's why David said, he leads me beside the still waters. He takes me in the place of peace, and he restores me. I didn't get a word, but I got restored. I didn't get a word, but I got his strength. I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get an answer to my problems, but I got his peace. I feel his strength. That one-on-one. So we thank God for the word of today. If we can all stand.